Hello guys, Joker the Fool here with my review of the Mighty Golden Patriot. This is of course the long-awaited book by Yellowflash and John Dillard, and I'm a little bit late into reviewing this one, but this is definitely one that I think is worth the read, and it was certainly worth the wait. It took a really long time for this book to finally materialize, but although it didn't take that long after it went up for pre-order for people to get it, I just got late to reviewing it, and this is a pretty epic World War II and Zentai clash of themes. So, of course, you see the main character here, Jack Rogers, is an American pilot flying over North Africa on a mission with a British pilot. He gets shot down, he finds an amulet, and he becomes the Mighty Golden Patriot. It's a really simple setup, and the story really has hits a lot of very predictable beats. It doesn't make it a bad story. I think Yellowflash does something that's pretty, I'd say by the books is probably a good way to describe it, but even though it is by the books, it's still a pretty satisfying story, and where this character starts and ends does give a pretty good foundation for this to be an ongoing series, and it is something that's going to continue. And of course, John Dillard is a very skilled artist, and he certainly shows off his talent here. I mean, these page layouts are really good. I love the character design, especially the line work when you see him in his Patriot form. Looks pretty epic. So you've just got a pretty good combination here of this story being, nothing is really pushing the boundaries. This definitely feels very, like I said, you can predict how it's going to go through when you read the first couple of pages, but that doesn't make it an unsatisfying experience. And it's just a joy to read through. There's plenty of action. There isn't much character development in this story. So this is the one thing I would say be most critical of, is that you've got these basic like themes that go about. Of course, this is, the Axis and the Allies fighting each other, the Nazis using the occult to try and win the war. It's stuff that's been done before. And so it's a bit hard to have those sorts of themes to be touching on yet another World War II sort of themed thing, and then try and build like a really deep and cohesive universe out of that, especially when this is just doing the exposition work as well. But I think you do have a good foundation for a good ongoing series. I think Jack Rogers is a decently interesting character, and we'll get into why I would say that a little bit later, because we're going to go over the companion book. But this certainly is a good book, and of course you've got side characters here as well. You've got the like undercover double agent as well. You see, you've got like this woman here. So that's like, again, it's a very, I'd say, typical thing where, you've got like, oh, a double agent, and it happens to be, blonde-haired, beautiful woman who's going to help the main character fight the good fight. Of course, you've got like Nazi mechs and all these sorts of things. So this is a good story. It's drawn very well. I think Dillard does a great job of doing the page layouts. He does have the 2-page spreads that he pulls out, or I would say the full-page spreads that he pulls out at just the right times. Character design looks really good. Again, this line work, these backgrounds just like really fit with the theme of the story. It really draws you in to like that World War II theme, because it's not like very like cel-shaded and comic booky, but it's still very much a stylized experience, and that stylization shifts between like these like epic scenes where it's showing off the very supernatural Zentai powered scenes, and then you've got themes where, especially like somewhere in the beginning, where it just looks like general World War II fare. So it goes between like the supernatural Zentai stuff, goes through the diesel punk with the mechs, and then you've got this very typical World War II fare, which makes for a good experience. I would say Mighty Golden Patriot definitely is something that I'm interested in seeing how the story develops. I like the character of Jack Rogers. It is definitely one that has a very basic setup and conclusion, but it's all satisfying, and it definitely feels like a well-structured and complete story. So that is the Mighty Golden Patriot. This also comes with a companion book, or I got it with a companion book. The campaign had 2 books that you could buy, and I got this one, Tales from the Battlefield. So this is done by Literature Devil, who is the writer for this, who's also the editor on Mighty Golden Patriot. And the Quaff is artist. I believe he's done Shotgun Samurai, which I do have. I just haven't gotten around to reading and reviewing it yet, although from flipping through it, it does look pretty interesting. And this is a pretty typical, I would say, story. Although I'd say it is drawn well. And what this really is a prequel, or not so much a prequel, but it's like a backstory of Jack Rogers, who you see in this like sort of like, if I can get a good one, like this like punished snake sort of form. So you got this like Geisha Ninja Akiko Yoshinobu, if I'm getting my Japanese pronunciations correct, which I guarantee you I'm not. Basically against this like punished snake who's like in 1918 prevents the Japanese from doing these spells, like these occult Yakuza cult that are trying to get like luck on his side, or to have the Germans win World War One. And while this is an interesting story, it is structured quite well. Of course, you'll love this idea of Japanese, basically anything is always very interesting. And it is a short story with a like very satisfying like beginning, middle, and ending. Doesn't really feel too connected to this, other than the fact that you do have the character Jack Rogers, who appears in both of these. So that's really my biggest criticism. It doesn't really cohesively connect it. It doesn't really feel like the Jack Rogers who appears in this feels the same as this character, because he's got his eye healed. I'm sure there might be an explanation for that happens like in between 1918 and this story right here takes place in 1943, which is basically a little bit before, it seems like, basically a little bit before the Americans officially get into World War II, although I'm sure you had covert operations involved beforehand. But that's neither here nor there. So all to say is the Tales from the Battlefield. It's a fun story to read, but it doesn't feel the most connected. But it certainly is a backstory, and it definitely is indicative that there is a bit more thought put into the Mighty Golden Patriot as a cohesive long-form narrative than just the one story that Yellow Flash wrote for the mainline story, which does give me hope that when they say that there's going to be more Mighty Golden Patriot, the Golden Patriot will return, as you can see right there, that the return will continue and be a really cool story, and just continue going forward, especially if you keep having Dillard on as the artist, because he does a really fantastic job with that line work, with the way he structures the pages, with just using the threads at the right time, to not make it like so hard on himself in terms of like getting the pages out, but also just having that really nice blend of action. I'd say that blend of action and just these epic set pieces that look epic, whether we're talking about, like I said, the World War II stuff, the diesel stuff, punk stuff with the mechs, or the straight up supernatural Sentai stuff. He does it all really well, and I think that's the shining aspect of this book, aside from the fact that, World War II is always going to be fun. It's something that I think a lot of us really love, growing up playing Call of Duty, Battlefield, all the World War II documentaries. It's very much part of the milieu of the nerd culture, is the military history, and I think World War II is probably like the peak of that. So I think it's a really interesting premise, even though it's been done to death. I think the spin on it is just unique enough to make it interesting, even though the plot itself, I'd say, is pretty by the books. But that's not inherently a bad thing when you do it well and you're using it to establish a good, satisfying story, which Yellow Flash does pretty well. And I think I'm going to leave it there. This is a good book, worth the time, and it was worth the wait. That's all I got for you guys. Joker is out.
Thank you for stopping by the Velvet Room. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you can keep up with Velvet Room Publishing, and go to velvetroompublishing.com if you want to go even deeper into the Velvet Room.